From coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Furby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio. This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio 99.1 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. The Guyana government has, with effect from March 1st, 2021, put in place a financial incentive for the renewable energy industry and has since exempted items to be used in the business from the payment of VAT. The order giving effect to the government inducement was made under the VAT Act, which restructured the schedules for goods and services that have either been zero rated or exempted altogether. The provisions of the order were signed off by the substantive minister with responsibility for the finance portfolio in the office of the president, Dr. Ashni Singh. According to the notice, exempted from VAT payments are machinery and equipment obtained for the generating and utilizing of electricity from renewable energy sources. And now let's tell you the APNU-AFC coalition believes that the local media has been unhelpful in getting its message across, and as such has requested that U.S. Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch ferries its message to Washington on a regular basis. Opposition leader Joseph Harmon made the request on Tuesday last during a meeting with the ambassador and deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy, Mark Cullinane. The opposition leader requested that the opposition's views are communicated to Washington on a regular basis, having regards to the fact, and I quote, that a large section of the local media landscape is unhelpful to the opposition. In fact, Harmon also requested of the ambassador that the opposition be informed of any major changes in U.S. policy decisions in Guyana. And now let's tell you to promote transparent and accountable public medical emergency procurement. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime is encouraging open contracting and e-procurement. The organization sought to outline several possible corruption risks associated mainly with COVID-19 vaccine procurement and distribution and general medical procurement in a report. It affirmed that while corruption scandals in procurement are widespread in the healthcare sector, the procurement of pharmaceuticals and medical devices are particularly prone to corruption, and the corruption can most likely occur in the pre-bidding, bidding, and post-bidding phases. And now let's tell you, when one considers the actions taken by the former coalition administration and the ruling PPPC to move at almost lightning speed with oil production offshore Guyana, in spite of its polluting effect it will have on the environment, international lawyer Melinda Janke is convinced that both political factions are incapable of leading Guyana to a safe and prosperous future. Janke sought to inform that U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to host a summit on climate change come April 22nd and 23rd. She noted that the summit will deal with urgent action to tackle this phenomenon, plus the economic benefits of doing so. Janke was keen to note that Guyana was not invited, even though it is a key state when it comes to climate change. Expounding on this front, Janke reminded that Guyana is a world leader in combating climate change. In other news, an hour after a wanted bulletin was issued yesterday for 40-year-old Rondell Bacchus called Killer in relation to the Main Street execution of Ricardo Fagundes, the man turned himself in at the CID headquarters in Georgetown in the company of his lawyer. Fagundes was riddled with more than 20 bullets as he exited the popular Main Street nightclub, Palm Court. According to reports, the act was carried out by two men who had emerged from a heavily tinted white Toyota Fielder wagon. Police revealed that CCTV footage from the cameras in the area of the execution was obtained and is being used for evidential purposes. Bacchus's lawyer said his client has adamantly denied any knowledge and involvement in the execution. The lawyer further stated that around the time Fagundes was murdered, his client was at a relative's house, which is nowhere near the scene of the crime. In other news, following its acceptance into the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, or EITI, in October back in 2017, as a candidate member, Guyana is expected to go through its first validation exercise come July 1st. This was confirmed yesterday with the head of Guyana EITI, Dr. Rudy Jarupat. According to the international body, which promotes good governance in the oil, gas, and mineral sectors, the validation process is an essential feature that serves to provide all stakeholders with an impartial assessment of how the country is implementing EITI standards. The assessment looks at all the work that is done by implementing country, which includes EITI reports, work plans, progress reports, stakeholder engagements, and efforts dedicated to transparency. And now let's tell you Mark Anthony Henry, the brother and cousin, respectively, of Joel and Isaiah, was yesterday charged with the capital offense of murder committed on 68-year-old Sorojdio Diochand. He was arrested on March 31st and charged with the murder of Diochand committed on March 30th at No. 3 Village, West Coast Burpees. The 24-year-old was remanded to prison until April 20th, 2021 for report. Diochand was found in a pool of blood with chop wounds about his face, belly, and arms. He was one of the men who police arrested, questioned, and released over the brutal deaths of Isaiah and Joel Henry. Crime Chief Wendell Blanham had confirmed that Henry had confessed to the murder of Diochand for revenge. And now let's tell you, while the Energy Department is in the process of adding the finishing touches to the draft local content policy, there is one key rule that should not escape its attention. Measure the number of goods and services used as well as locals employed by value and not by volume alone. This was noted by Trinidadian local content expert Anthony Paul. Paul said that the company's local content plan must therefore spell out how many people would be employed, for how long, to do what, and how much they will be paid. And while this is being done, he said that one must examine how the foreign participants can be used to build capacity. And that's the news of the moment. Remember, to get the full details of these stories, pick up a copy of the Kaieteur News. And don't forget, you can catch us on the MyTuner app as well as the Radio Garden app. You can also keep up to date by liking our Facebook page at Kaieteur Radio and subscribing to our